the Social Security Expansion Act of 2024, which contains the $200 per month raise. Did it pass, and will it pass this year? That's a great question and exactly what I want to focus on for you right here in the video. Let's get right into it. I know in this video we're specifically focusing on the Social Security Expansion Act, which was introduced about a year and a half ago by Bernie Sanders and a few of his buddies out of the Senate. Now this is the piece of legislation that does contain the $200 per month raise for millions upon millions of beneficiaries. It also raises taxes on higher income individuals, and it also adjusts the COLA to better reflect actual living expenses like what we've seen over the last couple years here with very, very high inflation and the COLA simply not keeping up. Well, as a result of that, is it going to pass this year? And again, I do want to talk about the details here in this video because I've seen it in the headlines a number of times as of recently, and we know that 2024 is all about you, the low income and fixed income beneficiaries who do receive benefits administered by Social Security. Very, very important time right now. Let's get into it and talk about the details of this piece of legislation, Social Security Expansion Act, as well as what I've been seeing in the headlines and what we can anticipate between now and essentially the end of the year. Very important, I can tell you that much. Either way, really fast before we do, thanks for joining me. If you have not done so yet, make sure to do yourself a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right down below the video. It's totally free to do so, and I'm here for you right by your side every single day, watching the latest details hitting the wire, including bills, packages, proposals, announcements, anything else coming up right now that you can possibly grab or take advantage of, like money, benefits, raises to benefits, checks, programs, stimulus checks, monthly checks, and the list goes on and on. I'm watching all of it very closely. It's a busy time, and things are changing very rapidly, and we know for a fact Social Security reform is right around the corner. It's happening before we know it, and it's going to impact all beneficiaries to some degree. What that reform is going to be, we don't know quite yet, but hopefully it contains some of the provisions out of the Social Security Expansion Act. So again, thanks for joining me. I'm here for you every single day to advocate on your behalf and do anything I possibly can to keep you informed of what's actually going on out there. Again, do yourself a huge favor, subscribe down below and share the video with your friends on my social media. There's a share button right down below next to the subscribe button. Make sure to do that as well. And let's get into it and talk about the details as far as where we currently stand with this legislation, what is going on with it, what can we expect this year, as well as what have I been seeing in the headlines about it. All right, so the Social Security Expansion Act, again, it contains the infamous $200 per month raise. But again, I want to emphasize as of right now, it has not passed yet. However, is this something that could pass this year? Now, I want to throw this out there really quickly, okay? Do I foresee the Social Security Expansion Act passing in its current state, as in right now, how it currently sits right now? I want to be completely honest with you. I don't foresee it passing exactly how it is. However, I would not be shocked one bit to see certain iterations or provisions of this piece of legislation actually passing, okay? I would anticipate if they bring this thing to the floor, which I wouldn't be shocked one bit if they do this year because this is a very influential piece of legislation. I would not be shocked at all if they bring it to the floor and they start voting on it within the chambers, especially the Senate, because that is Democratic controlled, and we know that is where it originated from Bernie Sanders and his other buddies there. But I would anticipate that when they bring this thing over to the House of Representatives at some point, once they pass it through the Senate, then I would anticipate this much. It's going to go through some reform, okay? Because here's the thing. Remember, they want to do a number of different things here. Now, the $200 per month raise would be very, very beneficial for the beneficiaries. That'd be awesome, right? That'd be very helpful. The COLA, we know that they want to adjust the way that the COLA is calculated from the CPIW to the CPIE, which apparently better reflects living expenses for fixed income beneficiaries a little bit. You've heard me talk about that before in other videos. It only changes the COLA a little teeny tiny bit. It is not that much. What they really need to do is just have better reporting of how much inflation is actually increasing prices and impacting prices rather than trying to change the COLA, okay? Don't get me wrong, changing the COLA would help a little bit, but it is not going to solve the problems. I can tell you that much already, okay? Over a 10-year span of time, the CPIW over the CPIE is only a difference of about 1.6%. That's it. It's not going to do much, okay? That is not the ticket here. The real ticket is just making sure the benefits are actually at parity of where they should be based on inflation and things like this, and where benefits have fallen behind so much over the last several years because inflation going higher, prices not keeping up, the COLA not keeping up, things like that, and benefits have fallen significantly behind. So the $200 per month raise would be very, very influential for a lot of people relying on these benefits. So I would anticipate this much. I would not be shocked one bit if they start voting on this thing this year, okay? Would not be shocked. In fact, I anticipate it. However, do I foresee it passing in its current state? No, honestly, I do not, okay? However, I do anticipate that they would go forward and they would actually reform this piece of legislation like they do with essentially every piece of legislation, right? It goes through the voting process, and then what do? They amend it. Happens every single time. That is not anything that is new here. It's not like, oh my, they're going to amend this legislation? No way, right? It almost happens every single time. Remember, there's well over 400 lawmakers in Congress between the House and the Senate, right? Do you think any of them have any little ideas, have their own agenda items, have their own little take on how they want the piece of legislation to look? Of course they do. That's why they offer amendments. They say, I don't like this, but let's do this instead. Or maybe these dollar amounts are not good enough, let's raise them up or lower them down or change different provisions. I totally think 100% they would do that. They do it literally every single time. Why wouldn't they do it with this, right? They would, okay? So the same thing is, that's what I would anticipate. However, this is one of those. Now again, there's a lot of pieces of legislation out there. You've heard me talk about all of them before in other videos. A lot, like tons of them, probably over 100 of them. I've talked about in other videos, all the different little aspects of them. But this is one of the best ones out there. Just being real with you. There's a number of them that are out there that are no good at all, okay? There's a number of them that are just literally garbage. They introduce them, and they're like, hey, check this one. And we're like, yeah, it's not good at all. It's terrible. Get rid of it, right? So there's a number of those out there, which we've talked about before, because I always want to keep you updated what's going on. But most of those, I would say, no, just get rid of it immediately because it doesn't make any sense. However, this one, people continue to come back to it. It's a good one, and it's out there right now, but I would anticipate it'll likely get some changes before anything were to pass on this thing. Now, again, I anticipate they're going to vote on this thing this year. Why would they do such a thing? Number one, to put lawmakers on record of where they currently stand with this legislation. Why? Do you think it's a little bit of a political move to maybe have them vote on it and they can send it, and then they can say going into November, look, they don't agree. Look, they voted for it. Look, we're winning and they're not, right? You know what I mean here? It's very important, and at the same time, it's a political game. Do you think they play games this time of year? Yeah, they do, right? We all know when we come down to cycles like this, yeah, they play major political games, and they do it on purpose so they can point the finger at other people and say, look, they didn't do anything, we did, we're the heroes, and they're terrible people, right? We know it all the time. So my point is, as you can clearly see, I'm not taking political sides here, but you know what I'm saying, right? We know this happens, and again, this will be a very powerful kind of negotiating factor going into what's going on in November, right? So as a result of this, we need to continue watching the Social Security Expansion Act, a great piece of legislation. It's out there now. I would anticipate it would need to go through some changes. It's not perfect, just like every piece of legislation out there. There's a lot of good aspects of it. There's a good percentage of provisions within it, but there's also a number of that are not that great. And again, I would foresee the same thing with this one here. It's great, nice, good piece of legislation, nice provisions within it, but at the end of the day, it's not perfect, okay? That's totally fine. It's just like anything. It's just like a book manuscript, right? Do you think it goes to an editor and they make a ton of different changes to it? Yeah, of course they do, because it's not perfect with its first iteration. Just like maybe I don't know, anything else out there, a painting, a drawing, something like that. Do you think the artist makes the first image and then they're like, this is perfect? No, they go through it and they make changes on it, right? Like making a sculpture, which, by the way, I don't know anything about making a sculpture, but I'm guessing artists, when they make stuff like this, they make the first iteration, they think, it doesn't look perfect here. Let me shave that down. Let me, bump this up or something like this. They make adjustments. Same thing with legislation. Same old thing, right? They go through with the first iteration and think, it's good. It's not perfect. Let's file this thing down. Let's make it a little bit better, and let's make some changes to it to make it as appealing as we possibly can, not only to the lawmakers voting on it, but to the administration who will eventually sign it into law. And let's make it most advantageous for not only the beneficiary, but as far as the Social Security Administration as well. Make it most advantageous for the program as a whole and its longevity. That's the point of this piece of legislation here. So, long story short here, we'll need to continue watching this one very closely. I do think it's a good one, and I anticipate they're going to vote on it for sure this year. Again, if anything, even if it doesn't pass, just to put lawmakers on record of what they said, what they voted for, what they agreed with, what they didn't, so it can give basically some power to both sides where they can say, hey, look, we voted on it, the other side didn't, whatever it happens to be, right? Either way, I'm going to continue watching this one very closely. I know a lot of you here in the community are anticipating a $200 per month raise at some point. Again, we'll have to see what happens. No promises whatsoever. I don't know what lawmakers are going to do. I wish I did. I could tell you, but I don't, okay? I don't have a clue what they're going to do. All we can really do is just continue to watch them on a daily basis. Anyway, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your friends on my social media. Again, the share button right down below next to the subscribe button as well. Make sure to hit the like button or go back and check out any of the other thousands and thousands of videos here on the channel. And other than that, leave your comments, your questions, your feedback down below. And until next time, enjoy your day. Take care. Have a good one, and I'll catch you.